When the triage nurse asked me who they should call, I stared at the fluorescent lights and said, "No one. There's no one to call." She looked at me like I'd just told her I was from Mars. 26 years old, bleeding from a head wound after my car slid into a ditch, and I couldn't name a single person who'd care enough to show up. That's when I knew my family had finally succeeded in erasing me completely. Let me back up. My name is Olivia Brennan, and I grew up in Burlington, Ontario, in one of those picture-perfect colonial houses with a manicured lawn and a golden retriever. From the outside, we looked like we'd stepped out of a catalog, but inside those walls, there was an unspoken hierarchy, and I was at the bottom of it. My older brother Marcus was the golden child. 4 years older, he'd been groomed since birth to take over my father's commercial real estate empire. Private school, hockey captain, Queen's University commerce degree. Everything he touched turned to success, and my parents worshipped him for it. Then there was me, the afterthought, the daughter who came along when my mother was 42 and supposedly done having children. I wasn't planned. I was reminded of this frequently, though never in so many words. It was in the way my mother would sigh when I asked for help with homework. The way my father's eyes would glaze over when I talked about my graphic design courses at OCAD. The way Marcus got a new BMW for his 21st birthday, while I got a Tim Hortons gift card for mine. But I told myself it was fine. Families have favorites. That's just how it goes, right? The night everything changed was February 14th, 2026. Not Valentine's Day for my family, though. It was my father's 60th birthday, and my parents had been planning this party for months. The Grand Georgian, in downtown Toronto, 500 guests, live jazz band, ice sculptures, the works. It was going to cost more than most people's weddings. Marcus was giving the keynote speech about carrying forward the Brennan legacy. He'd been practicing it for weeks, calling my parents every night to rehearse. I knew every word of it by heart, because I could hear him through the walls of my cramped apartment in Parkdale. We lived in the same building, purely by coincidence. Or maybe not. Maybe my parents had helped him buy his penthouse unit and I'd ended up in a basement bachelor pad on my own dime, because that's just how the universe works sometimes. I'd been excited about the party. I'd bought a dress, booked the day off work, even made an appointment to get my hair done. Then, 3 days before the event, I got a text from my mother. "Olivia, we've decided it's best if you don't attend your father's party. The guest list is very particular, mostly business associates, and we don't want any drama. You understand. We'll do something small with you another time." I read that message 7 times, sitting on the subway on my way home from work. People rushed past me at Union Station, and I just stood there, frozen, while strangers bumped into me. Don't want any drama. What drama had I ever caused? I showed up to family dinners on time. I was polite to their friends. I sent birthday cards and Christmas gifts. The only drama was that I existed at all. I texted back, "What are you talking about? I'm his daughter. Why would I cause drama?" 3 hours later, my mother replied, "Don't make this difficult, Olivia. It's been decided. We'll send you some cake." That was it. Uninvited to my own father's milestone birthday by text message. I didn't cry. I think I was too shocked to cry. Instead, I called Marcus. He was the reasonable one. The one who sometimes slipped me money when my rent was tight. The one who'd occasionally grab coffee with me and ask how I was doing. He didn't pick up. I texted him. "Did you know about this? About them uninviting me?" His response came an hour later. "Yeah, I knew. Look, it's easier this way. You know how they get. Just let it go." Just let it go. Valentine's Day arrived, and I went to work like it was any other Friday. I designed logos and social media graphics for a boutique marketing firm, and I was good at my job. My boss, Jennifer, had actually just promoted me to senior designer. But none of that mattered to my parents. Graphic design wasn't a real career to them. It wasn't law, or medicine, or real estate. Around 6 p.m., my phone started buzzing. The family group chat, which I'd forgotten to mute, exploded with activity. Photos started flooding in. My mother in a beaded silver gown. My father in a custom tuxedo, grinning wider than I'd seen in years. Marcus at the podium, microphone in hand, looking every bit the heir apparent. And the cake. A massive four-tier creation with 60 years of excellence. Arthur Brennan, written in gold leaf. I could see champagne towers, elaborate floral arrangements, women in evening gowns and men in designer suits. My Aunt Diane posted, "So proud of this family. Arthur, Margaret, and Marcus, you're an inspiration." My cousin posted a selfie with Marcus. "Best cousin ever. Can't wait to watch you take over Brennan Properties." Nobody mentioned me. Not one person asked where I was. It was like I'd never existed at all. I sat in my apartment, eating leftover pad thai, scrolling through photos of my own father's birthday party that I wasn't allowed to attend. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was a video. Marcus's speech. I shouldn't have watched it. I knew I shouldn't, but I pressed play anyway. My father has always taught me that legacy isn't just about buildings or profit margins, Marcus said, his voice smooth and confident. It's about family. It's about raising the next generation to carry forward your values, your work ethic, your vision. Dad, you didn't just build an empire. You built a son who's ready to honor everything you've created. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for making me the man I am today." The crowd erupted in applause. My father stood up, tears in his eyes, and embraced Marcus. My mother dabbed at her face with a napkin. They looked so happy. So complete. Like their family was perfect exactly as it was. Without me, I turned off my phone and grabbed my keys. I needed to drive. I needed to move. I needed to do anything other than sit in that apartment, drowning in the reality that I didn't matter to the people who were supposed to love me most. I got in my beat-up 2015 Honda Civic and just drove. North on the DVP, then east toward Scarborough, no destination in mind. It was snowing lightly, the kind of wet February snow that makes everything slippery and gray. I wasn't crying. I was past crying. I was just numb. Hollow. The windshield wipers scraped back and forth, and I kept replaying Marcus's speech in my head. It's about family, but I was family, wasn't I? That's when my phone rang. Marcus's name flashed on the screen, mounted on my dashboard. I almost didn't answer, but some pathetic part of me hoped that maybe, just maybe, he was calling to apologize, to say he'd made a mistake, to tell me I should have been there. I pressed the button to answer on speaker. "What? Liv, where are you?" His voice sounded weird, strained. "Driving. Why do you care? Listen, I need to talk to you. Can you pull over?" "I'm fine, Marcus. Enjoy your party." "The party's over. I'm back at my place." "Can you come up?" Something in his voice made my stomach drop. He didn't sound celebratory. He sounded almost panicked. "I don't really want to see you right now," I said. "Liv, please. I'm serious. I need to tell you something." The desperation in his voice cut through my numbness. Marcus never sounded like that. Marcus was always composed, always in control. "Fine. I'm 20 minutes away." I hung up and turned the car around, heading back west. The snow was picking up now, and the roads were getting worse. I should have driven slower. I should have been more careful. But my mind was spinning with questions. What could Marcus possibly need to tell me that couldn't wait? I was on the 401, just past the Pickering exit, when it happened. The car in front of me braked suddenly. I hit my brakes too, but the roads were slick, and my tires didn't grip. I felt the car sliding, spinning, completely out of my control. There was a guardrail, and then there wasn't. And then I was tumbling down an embankment into a ditch. The airbag exploded into my face. My head cracked against something hard. And then everything went dark. When I came to, I was still in my car, but it was tilted at a weird angle. My head was throbbing, and when I touched my forehead, my fingers came away bloody. The driver's side window had shattered, and freezing air poured in. I fumbled for my phone. The screen was cracked, but it still worked. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely unlock it. I dialed 911. 911. What's your emergency? I had an accident. I'm in a ditch off the 401. I think near Pickering. My head is bleeding. Okay. Stay calm. Are you able to get out of the vehicle? I don't know. It's tilted. I'm scared if I move, it'll roll. Don't move. Help is on the way. Can you tell me your name? Olivia. Olivia Brennan. Olivia. I need you to stay on the line with me, okay? Is there anyone I can call for you? Family or friends? And that's when it hit me. That hollow, devastating realization. There was no one. No, I whispered. There's no one to call. Are you sure? No emergency contacts at all? I thought about my parents at their party, celebrating without me. I thought about Marcus, who knew I'd been excluded, and told me to just let it go. I thought about my extended family who'd posted all those photos and never once asked where I was. I'm sure. The paramedics arrived 12 minutes later. They stabilized my neck, got me out of the car, loaded me onto a stretcher. One of them, a kind-looking woman named Sarah, kept asking me questions to keep me alert. Do you know what day it is? Valentine's Day. Friday, February 14th. Good. And who's the Prime Minister? I answered. My head was killing me, but I stayed conscious. They brought me to Scarborough Health Network. The ER was chaos, people everywhere, but they got me into a bay relatively quickly. A doctor examined me, ordered a CT scan to check for a concussion. I had a gash on my forehead that needed stitches and some bruised ribs from the seatbelt. But otherwise, I was lucky. That's what they kept telling me. You're lucky. I didn't feel lucky. The nurse came back with a clipboard. We need your emergency contact information for our records. I stared at the form. Name, relationship, phone number. I don't have anyone, I said. She frowned. Parents? Siblings? A friend? No. She looked at me with this mixture of pity and confusion that made me want to disappear into the hospital bed. Okay, we'll leave it blank for now. They moved me to a room to wait for my CT results. I lay there, staring at the ceiling tiles, counting the small holes in them to distract myself from the pain. 247 holes in the tile directly above my bed. That's when Marcus walked in. I genuinely thought I was hallucinating. He was still wearing his suit from the party, tie loosened, hair disheveled. His eyes were red. Liv, he breathed. How did you know I was here? My voice came out flat. You said you were 20 minutes away. When you didn't show up, I called you 17 times. When you didn't answer, I tracked your phone. I saw you hadn't moved in over an hour, and the location was off the highway. I called the hospitals. They told me you were here. He pulled a chair up next to my bed and sat down heavily. For a long moment, neither of us said anything. I'm glad you're okay, he finally said. What did you want to tell me? I asked. You said you needed to talk. What was so urgent? Marcus put his face in his hands. His shoulders started shaking. I'd never seen my brother cry. Not once in 26 years. Marcus? He looked up at me, tears streaming down his face. I'm so sorry, Liv. I'm so sorry. For what? For everything. For tonight. For every night. For every time I stood by and let them treat you like you didn't matter. My throat tightened. Why are you saying this now? He took a shuddering breath. Because I can't do it anymore. I can't keep pretending. I need to tell you the truth, and you're probably going to hate me for it, but you deserve to know. A cold dread settled in my stomach. What truth? Marcus wiped his eyes and looked directly at me. When I was 22, I had a gambling problem. A bad one. I'd gotten in with some guys at Queen's, started betting on sports, then poker, then anything. By the time I graduated, I was $300,000 in debt. I blinked. 300,000? How did I not know about this? Because Mom and Dad paid it off. Every cent. But there was a condition. What condition? That I would never, ever take your side. That I would always prioritize the family image, the business, the legacy over my relationship with you. They told me that you were a liability. That you were too sensitive, too artistic, too different. They said if I wanted to inherit Brennan properties, if I wanted to be part of this family, I needed to prove my loyalty by keeping you at a distance. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. You're lying. I'm not. Liv, I swear to God, I'm not. Every time you called me and I didn't pick up, they'd given me a quota, no more than 2 personal interactions with you per month. Every time you asked me for help and I made an excuse, they were watching. Every time they excluded you from something and I said nothing, I was following orders. Following orders? My voice was rising now. You're a 30-year-old man, Marcus. You had a choice. I know, his voice cracked. I know I did, and I made the wrong one. Every single time. I made the wrong one. Because I was scared. I was a coward who chose money and approval over my own sister. But tonight, giving that speech, looking out at all those people, seeing Mom and Dad so proud, I realized something. What? That I hate myself. I hate who I've become. I've spent 4 years becoming exactly what they wanted me to be, and I don't even recognize myself anymore. And the worst part? The absolute worst part? You were supposed to be there tonight. Not just at the party. In that speech. When I talked about family and legacy, I should have been talking about you too. But I couldn't, because they told me not to. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. The machines around me beeped steadily, monitoring my vital signs, but inside I was fracturing into 1,000 pieces. When did you realize I wasn't at the party? I whispered. I knew you wouldn't be there. They told me a week ago they were uninviting you, and you said nothing. I said nothing. We sat in silence. Outside the room, I could hear the sounds of the hospital. Phones ringing, people talking, the squeak of wheels on linoleum, normal sounds. But nothing felt normal anymore. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. Because when I thought you might be dead in a car somewhere, I realized that I'd never forgiven myself if I didn't tell you the truth. Because you deserve to know that none of this is your fault. That you're not difficult or dramatic or too sensitive. You're just the only honest person in this family, and they punished you for it. They paid you $300,000 to abandon me. Yes. And you took it. Yes. I looked at my brother, really looked at him. His expensive suit, his perfectly styled hair, his watch that probably cost more than my rent. He had everything. Money, status, our parents' love. And he'd bought it all by betraying me. I need you to leave, I said quietly. Live. Get out, Marcus. I can't look at you right now. He stood up slowly. I understand. But before I go, I need you to know something. I'm telling them the truth. About what they did. About what they made me do. I'm done being their puppet. Good for you, I said, my voice hollow. But it doesn't change anything. You still made your choice. You chose them over me. You chose money over family. And now, I'm the one sitting here with no emergency contacts because my entire family is a lie. Marcus's face crumpled. I know I can't take it back, but I'm going to try to make it right. I promise you, Liv. I'm going to make this right. He left. The room felt bigger and emptier without him. A nurse came in to check on me. Your CT scan looks good. No concussion, just a mild contusion. We'll keep you overnight for observation, but you should be fine to go home tomorrow. Thank you, I said automatically. She paused at the door. Your brother seems very worried about you. Yeah, I said. He's good at seeming like things. After she left, I pulled out my phone. The screen was still cracked, but it worked. I opened my email and started typing. Jennifer. I'm sorry for the short notice, but I need to take a leave of absence. I was in a car accident tonight, and I need some time to recover and figure some things out. I'll understand if this affects my position. Best, Olivia. Then I opened my banking app and looked at my savings. $23,000. I'd been saving for years, putting away every spare dollar, building my safety net. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Enough to leave. I spent that night in the hospital, scrolling through apartment listings in Vancouver. I'd always wanted to see the West Coast. Maybe it was time. The next morning, I was discharged. The social worker gave me a list of resources for accident victims, including support groups and counseling services. I thanked her and took the papers, knowing I'd probably never call. I took an Uber back to my apartment building. When we pulled up, I saw Marcus sitting on the steps outside. He looked like he hadn't slept. "I thought I told you to leave me alone," I said, getting out of the car carefully. My ribs ached. "I went to see them last night. Mom and Dad. Despite myself, I stopped. And I told them everything. That I'd told you about the deal. That I was done following their rules. That what they did to you was unforgivable." "What did they say?" Marcus laughed bitterly. "Mom said I was being dramatic. Dad said I was throwing away my future over nothing. They told me that you'd always been manipulative, that you were probably playing victim to turn me against them." Something inside me finally broke. Not in a shattering way, but in a releasing way. Like a rope I'd been holding onto my entire life had just been cut, and instead of falling, I was floating. "Okay," I said. "Okay?" "Yeah, okay. Thank you for telling me. You can go now." "Liv, I want to help. Let me help you. I can pay for your car repairs, your medical bills." "I don't want your money, Marcus. I don't want their money. I don't want any of it." "Then what do you want?" I looked at my brother, this man who'd been both my protector and my betrayer, and I realized something. He was just as trapped as I'd been. Maybe more so. Because I'd been set free through exclusion, but he'd been imprisoned through acceptance. "I want you to figure out who you are when you're not trying to please them," I said. "I want you to go to therapy. I want you to build a life that's yours, not theirs." "But I can't be part of that process, Marcus. I can't fix you. I need to fix myself first." "Are you leaving?" "Yes." "Where will you go?" "I don't know yet. But I'll figure it out." Marcus's face was anguished. "Will you ever forgive me?" I thought about that question. About forgiveness and family and all the ways we hurt each other. "Maybe someday," I said. "But not today. Today, I need to be angry. I've earned the right to be angry." He nodded slowly. "I understand." I walked past him into my building. He didn't follow. Over the next 2 weeks, I methodically dismantled my life in Toronto. I gave notice on my apartment. I sold my furniture on Marketplace. I packed my clothes and books into boxes and shipped them to a storage unit. Jennifer from work called me 3 times, trying to convince me to stay, telling me I had a future with the company, but I'd already made up my mind. I didn't tell my parents I was leaving. I didn't tell anyone except my landlord and my boss. If my family wanted to know where I was, they could wonder. They could experience the same absence they'd given me my entire life. Marcus texted me twice. Once to tell me he'd quit Brennan Properties and was looking for a new job. Once to tell me he'd started seeing a therapist. I didn't respond to either message, but I didn't block him either. Maybe that was my own small act of grace. On March 1st, I boarded a plane to Vancouver with 2 suitcases and a heart full of equal parts grief and hope. As the plane took off and Toronto disappeared beneath the clouds, I felt something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Free. Vancouver was rainy and beautiful and full of people who didn't know me, didn't know my family, didn't have any preconceived notions about who I was supposed to be. I found a tiny apartment in Kitsilano, got a job at a design agency in Yaletown, and started building a life that was entirely my own. I made friends, real friends, who liked me for me, not because of family connections or social obligations. I joined a pottery class and discovered I was terrible at it but loved it anyway. I hiked the trails around North Vancouver and felt my body grow stronger. I went to therapy and cried about my childhood and slowly, painfully, began to understand that none of it had been my fault. 3 months after I left, my mother called. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Olivia, where are you?" Her voice was sharp with irritation. "Vancouver." Silence. "Vancouver? What are you doing in Vancouver?" "Living." "Don't be ridiculous. You need to come home. Your brother has completely lost his mind, and we need you to talk some sense into him." I actually laughed. "You want me to come home and fix Marcus? The same Marcus you paid to ignore me?" The same family event I wasn't invited to 3 months ago? That's not fair, Olivia. You're twisting things. No, Mom. I'm seeing things clearly for the first time in my life, and I'm not coming back. You're being selfish. Family doesn't just abandon each other. The irony was so thick I could have choked on it. You're right, I said. Family doesn't abandon each other. But you abandoned me a long time ago. I'm just finally accepting it. Olivia Catherine Brennan, if you hang up this phone. I hung up. Then I blocked her number. Then I blocked my father's. I kept Marcus unblocked because some part of me wanted to leave that door open, even if I wasn't ready to walk through it yet. 6 months after I left Toronto, Marcus flew to Vancouver. He texted me from the airport, asking if we could meet for coffee. I said yes. We met at a cafe on Commercial Drive. He looked different. Thinner. Less polished. He was wearing jeans and a plain sweater. Not the designer suits I was used to seeing him in. Thanks for agreeing to see me, he said. How did you know I'd say yes? I didn't. I hoped. We ordered coffee and sat by the window. It was raining, the way it always seemed to rain in Vancouver, but I'd grown to love it. The rain made everything feel clean and new. I'm working for a nonprofit now, Marcus said, helping young people with financial literacy, trying to prevent them from making the same mistakes I did. That's good. I've been in therapy twice a week. My therapist says I have a lot of unpacking to do around conditional love and transactional relationships. Sounds accurate. He smiled slightly. Yeah, it does. He paused. Mom and Dad cut me off. Completely. No money, no job, no contact. They told everyone I had a breakdown, and to ignore anything I said. I'm sorry. Don't be. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. He looked at me seriously. I'm learning who I am without their approval. It's terrifying and liberating at the same time. I know the feeling, I said. We talked for 2 hours. About therapy, about childhood, about all the ways our family had been broken long before that February night. Marcus told me about cutting ties with our parents, about the relief and grief that came with it. I told him about my new life, my new job, the person I was becoming. Do you think you'll ever forgive me? He asked as we were leaving. I thought about it. I think I'm working on it. Forgiveness isn't a switch I can flip. It's a process. But I can see that you're trying. That counts for something. Can I visit again? In a few months? Yeah, you can visit. He hugged me goodbye, and for the first time in my life, it felt like I was hugging my actual brother, not the person our parents had sculpted him to be. Today, I'm 27. I've been in Vancouver for over a year now. I have a job I love, friends who show up for me, a life that's mine. I'm not rich. I don't have a family empire or a trust fund. But I have something more valuable. I have myself. Marcus and I talk every few weeks now. We're rebuilding our relationship slowly, carefully, without our parents' interference. It's fragile and imperfect, but it's real. That's more than we ever had before. I learned something through all of this. I learned that family isn't about blood or obligation or who throws you a party. Family is about who shows up when you're bleeding in a ditch off the 401. Family is about who's willing to tell the truth even when it costs them everything. Family is about who chooses you, again and again, without conditions. And sometimes, the family you choose is yourself. That has to be enough. And eventually, it is. If you're reading this and you see yourself in my story, I want you to know something. You're not too sensitive. You're not too difficult. You're not asking for too much. You deserve to be someone's first call, not their last resort. You deserve to be at the party. And if the people who are supposed to love you can't see your worth, that's not a reflection of your value. That's a reflection of their limitations. Leave if you need to. Grieve what you didn't have. Build something new. It's terrifying, but I promise you, it's worth it. Because the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. The best revenge is building a life so beautiful, so authentic, so completely yours, that their rejection becomes irrelevant. And that's exactly what I did.